haven't made a video in a while, but cold front come through. We're going to do some hunting this weekend, so I'm going to make up some new set of arrows here. And I'm just going to give you a couple of things that I do, a couple tips, and might make a little bit better arrow for you. It's kind of some basics on arrow building. If you guys do your own, I know a lot of people are starting to do your own arrows. So the first thing I like to do, again, we've got just a raw shaft here. This is the Element Typhoon arrow. It's got a .204 ID, inside diameter, so it's a small diameter shaft. Really like the way these shoot. Very tough arrow too. So these are a .003 tolerance, and what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to cut that tolerance down and get a little bit better than .003. So, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'm going to zoom in here on what I'm doing. You can see it, and I got the Ultra Pro X cam with some close-up shots so you can see even better what I got going on here. So here we go. We've got a spin tester here to spin the arrows, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on the main camera, but on the Pro X10 here you're going to be able to see it. What I'm looking for on this arrow is when I spin test this arrow, again this is uncut bare shaft, I'm looking at the ends of the arrows. You're going to see right here on the tip, you're going to see a little bit of wobble, and you'll see a little bit of wobble on that end too. When you spin it, you'll see it. It's just slight. There's not a lot there. It's not like it's flopping over like an out-of-balance washing machine or something, but just a little slight wobble, which gives it the .003 straight tolerance on this arrow. Then they're all labeled. They'll tell you what their straightnesses are. So I like to get that thing a little bit better if I can. So what I like to do is I like to cut both ends of the arrow off if both ends have a little abnormally on each end, and that's usually where carbon shafts, if they're going to have something that's out of straightness or are going to have a problem or an issue on them, that's where it's going to be. It's going to be on the end, not in the center of it, because that's your least straightness amounts is on the ends, because that's just how they're made. Arrow saw, and what I want to do is I want to cut about ½ inch off the end of this. So I'm going to set this just where I can cut the end of that. Let's see, this arrow was 30 and a half inches long, looks like the shaft is. So I'm going to put the block on 30, fire it up. I cut a ½ inch off this end, which is the end that I'm going to put the knock on, I believe. And so then I'm going to take the rest off this end. So I took a ½ inch off this end. This is my knock end. And I'm going to take the rest off the other side. So 28 inches. My arrows are 28 inches from the throat of the knock. So I've cut a ½ inch off the end. I'm going to insert my knock to make sure that this ends up the right length for my bow. My arrows are 28 inches from the throat of the knock, which is this right here, throat of the knock, to the end of the carbon. And if you order arrows and you give them a length, that's the proper measurement. You're going to get it from the throat of the knock to the end of the carbon. If your arrows are 29, you're going to be 29 from the throat of the knock to the end of the carbon. So, but I'm going to be 28. So I've set my guide here at 28 inches. Now again, I've got my knock in here, so I make this thing the proper length. And then I'm going to cut this off. And also when you use an arrow cutoff saw like this, you want to rotate the arrow as you cut it instead of going straight in and trying to chop it off. Leave a little burr on the end of it. So rotate that arrow, go in slow, take your time, make a good cut. Make a good All right. We have cut the wobble out of each end of this arrow, and I believe this 003 straightness arrow just became a little bit better. So we're going to get it up here on the table and finish it off. We're going to put the insert in, weigh it out, get an FOC, put some fletchings on, all that. So be right back. All right, now we've got an arrow that has been cut from both ends. Get the camera angle a little better. We've inserted a knock. Now we're going to do a spin test again to see how this thing turned out. Look at that. Wow. You can see a huge difference, both ends. I hope the camera can pick that up. I don't know how well that's going to show up on camera. We got the Ultra Pro X10 on it to get the up close, but we just cut that arrow, cut off both ends, and it's I can tell you this, it's better than 003. I promise you that. Hopefully you can see that. So there we are. We've got us a straightness of an arrow. We've made it better just by cutting both ends of it off. Now we've got the straightest part of the arrow. Now again, this is how much I cut off one end, and I cut that much off another end. I cut this off strictly was on my knock end to get that wobble out of there. I cut that much off, and then the reason there's this much is cut off is because my arrows are only 28 inches long, and that I just cut off the excess. But it cut a lot of the imperfections and the straightness out of that arrow. So, all right. Let's put let's get an insert in and put some fletchings on, shall we? Now, let's insert these arrows. First thing we're going to do, I use an insert tool so I don't get glue on my fingers and glue my fingers to the insert. But it's just I took a field point and glued it into this little metal shaft and put an end on it. I kind of made it myself. But what you do, you can thread that in there to hold that insert. You want to clean that shaft out, so just cut that, and you can do that with a Q-tip. I've already prepped this shaft for the second time, but you can run a Q-tip down in there and see all that black dust comes out of there. That will prevent your insert from sticking. So clean that out, get all that carbon dust out of there. So you'll never get enough of that out of there. And then I prefer super glue for inserts. A lot of guys will do the hot melt glue sometimes, and there's some epoxies out there. Super glue works just dandy for me that I found. The 2-part Gorilla Glue epoxy works great. I know some guys that prefer to glue them in, and I did that for a while, and it works. But I found with these elements and these outserts for the Typhoon, super glue works wonderful. So. And we've got our insert. We're going to just put some super glue on it and stick that in. And I'm going to rotate that as I go in to spread that glue around a little bit. All right. And then take a paper towel. You got one handy. I keep paper towels close. Just take you a paper towel. Wipe off the excess. And give her a few seconds. And she'll be ready to go. So, matter of fact, that's probably already glued in, ready to go. So, insert tool, very handy. Keep the glue off your fingers so you don't glue super glue your fingers together. And that stuff's mean stuff. So, all right, now we've got this element Typhoon. I might have said elephant in there. I didn't mean it. Make for a blooper video, but we'll keep it in. An Element Typhoon 400 series shaft, and started out as .003 straightness, and we've cut the imperfections off each end. So this arrow is going to be better than 003. And got our insert glued in. We've got our knock inserted. So the next thing we need to do is fletching. So we're going to go right to that. All right, I've got a lot of guys ask me what fletching jigs to use, which one's the best. I owned a pro shop for a while and had used a lot of fletching jigs, and in my opinion, I prefer the Bitzenberger jigs, and I do a lot of different combinations and a lot of different fletchings and change a lot of things. So I have two. I got one set up that I can do four fletch on, and I got one I can do a 3 fletch on. I've got a straight clamp, and I've got a helical clamp. I prefer helical on my feathers. So that's what we're going to use today. Okay. All right, we're going to put some fletchings on this arrow. Again, I like to shoot a right helical, so I got, for the sake of time, I got my Bitzenberger fletching jig here. I got it set for the helical. I've got my right helical fletching clamp, and got our arrow set there. We've already prepped the arrow. We cleaned off all the carbon and the debris on it, so the arrows will stick, or the fletchings will stick real good. I prefer feathers, So I use a 3-inch feather, and I'm going to set it in my fletching jig here. The fletching jig's got little marks on it. And you know exactly where to set the marks, so you know. I just know from doing a lot of these, I know that's my mark, so that's how far up my fletching needs to be from the throat of my knock. It's 1.5 to 2 inches from the throat of your knock, where your fletchings need to start. So, all right, I kind of think outside the box a little bit. I use a little bit different kind of glue. This is an industrial type glue. I think they use it in screen printing, and you buy it in bulk. Obviously, you can see this bottle here. This bottle will do all the arrows you'll ever need. And you can buy one bottle and some applicator. So there we go. All right, glued the arrow, the fletching, put it in the jig, put the clamp down. I take my aerosol spray here. This is just a hardener. It's a quick dry. I'm gonna spray it, give it a little blast there. Wait 2 or 3 seconds. Pull the clamp off. I'm going to turn to the next setting. I'm going to put the next fletching on. Put my glue in. Back on the fletching. Again, not a lot, just enough. You might have to play with it, find out how much glue you need if you've never done this. If you get a little too much on there, it'll glue your clamp to your fletchings. You can't get it off. If you don't get enough, your fletchings will fly off. So if you're going to do arrow fletching, you're going to be doing a lot of testing, so to see what works. I've been doing them for a few years now, and I just kind of know how much glue we need. So we'll get number 3, just like that. Glue it, clamp it. Take my spray, I'm going to hit it again. Give it a couple seconds, just enough to that glue to harden. And then pull the clamp, and I like to pull it out, and then on the back side of that one fletching, didn't get any spray, and I'll just hit it again, like that, and that one is done. We have completed one complete flying, this is a Element Typhoon arrow with 3 fletchings on it, 3 right helical feathers. There was a .003 400 series arrow to start with, and we cut the ends off, and I believe it's better than 003. So I'm going to put it back on the spin tool, and let's take a look.